Hello, thanks for joining me for part 3. I didn't want there to be a part 3, but there is a part 3 and here it is. Because there was just a few things I thought I should add in. I don't know whether my memory card has got enough space on it, and that might be a relief for you because I'll get chopped off in my prime. I just wanted to just go over a few things that I didn't cover in the other videos, and I know I could go on and on and on and on ad infinitum about details and things, but there were especially by this one I didn't explain also. This is the original of the Hermit or Healer card, and I had put the dove ornament on the stone wall behind her head because I wanted to echo the dove over her head in the original card, only I didn't see it really in the more realistic setting, there being a dove over her head literally, so I made it into an ornament. And then when I tried to put the scroll on, of course it went right across. I go quite a lot, don't I? Sorry about that. That's very immature. I will stop doing that and find another more expressive noise to use instead. So I had to redo this whole area, and while I was redoing this whole area I decided to change her face. Now in the last 24 hours since I made the video of thinking, where has this piece, this is still the print, I can't find the original artwork of this, even though I did it very recently. It has still vanished, so I'm still left showing you the very lackluster print rather than the original. So that explains why I redid it, and then while I was redoing it I redid her face. The other point about that was I had a kind of a bit of a crisis of thinking, this is meant to be the Hermit card, and having worked through the Everyday Enchantment Tarot and done so much more research over all that 10-year period into the whole tarot, I wasn't sure about deviating quite so far from the idea that this was the Hermit card, and I could not think for the life of me how I could call this card anything hermity, hermit spirit, wild hermit. It just didn't work. So I had, although this original just said healer, I had to put healing spirit, and part of the hermit's retreat is not only to gain wisdom and to know themselves and to find insights and all those things that come with this card, but it is also a process of healing, or it can be. And because this particular card started off being, she has invited somebody into her healing space to share the wisdom that she has gleaned, and so pass on her healing energy therefore. So although I would have liked it to reflect the word hermit more, I think that anybody would understand what I'm trying to do there and appreciate why it has deviated away. And I have made sure that wild wisdom is at the bottom, because of course this card is all about seeking wisdom. And so I hope that won't displease any complete purists that think this should be more hermity. The whole scene of it is pretty hermity, isn't it? I think there can be a word hermity just for now. Yes, and I was thinking of solitary and blah, blah, and nothing really conjured it up as well as healing spirit, because to my mind, what you do is you go within, you retreat, you glean the wisdom, you do your self-healing, you do all those things, and then you go back out into the world, or the world comes to you in this case, and you pass that on. It is not purely to be selfishly gained for your own whatever. It's something that you do altruistically, even though it might seem like you're being selfish by retreating from the world. You're not. You're doing it for the sake of yourself and your health, and because you need to grow in order to move on and be the best person you can. So I do think that's okay to call it the healing spirit. Okay, let's explain some more about these revamps. Now these are all prints because I didn't want to get the original artwork out, so you'll notice the poor quality compared to the originals. And right, what am I going to say about this one? I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to say about this one, except for it seemed to be, visionary spirits seemed to be the most appropriate thing, even though it is not a high priestess word. This is the Wild Spirit deck, and we are looking at the keywords and the ethos and the feeling behind each card, and she's clearly a visionary spirit, and that is all part of the high priestess's persona, of her energy, of what she's giving the deck and to you. And she's also a wild dreamer because she's off in other realms, so I think that was fair enough to change. Hopefully, obviously, I would like to hear your thoughts. Now, there is a problem with the scrolls, and especially with the printing, because you cannot see the number there at all. There is a number 2 there, but you can't see it, so that obviously needs working on, because otherwise you would not know what number it was. But the printing is always going to make it look just not, it's not sharp, it's not clear, and the font probably is not strong enough, even though it's the only one that I've got that really fits the style of the cards of the deck. So moving on, trying not to take up too much time because there's something else I want to say as well. This one here, now this is a print that hasn't come out very well at all. It looks really fuzzy when you see it actually on the screen where it's been saved. It's so luminous and bright. I did a little bit of kind of tweaking to make the flowers and the coins look a bit more realistic, but I basically left it as it was. I just sort of enhanced the little dancing people at the bottom and made the wings and the flying energy of the spirits at the top much more vibrant, and you just can't see it here. And I decided, because it was called, this is obviously the wheel of fortune, the dance of life, it had to be spirit dance, and web of fate, wild fate. They are weaving the wild fates. Hopefully that will become clear, and as I say, there will be a book that goes with this that will explain all the images, but I hope they're very self-explanatory. They were meant to be very simple, beautiful images, these, and not to be too overburdened with extraneous clues and cues, very much more like the Everyday Enchantment deck was. It was much more busy. These are meant to be more sort of storybook, fairy tale, childlike images from a simpler time, if you like, that evoke something pure, and especially this one. I think I've said enough. I don't really know why I'm feeling like I have to explain these. I just didn't feel like yesterday we kind of said, oh, and here's another revamp, and we kind of passed over it really quickly. So yes, I'm trying to get hold of Rebirth here, and he's just not having any of it. Come on. Right, so Rebirth. This is again the print. I have worked very hard on their faces to make them look softer and more realistic. I added in the vortex spiral, which is meant, this doorway is meant to be the tunnel which you come through from life and death. I couldn't call it anything else but Rebirth. We went into that yesterday. There was nothing else I could call it. Wild Rebirth just seemed gratuitously adding on the word wild, so this will be the only one without it. But I said that also in the other videos. And Wild Spirit of Change, I tried that too, and that didn't work. I've explained how I put the red cloth there so that you could actually see all of the skulls and parts of the... So the rabbit, the live rabbit, comes out of the hat because this is the sort of wizard magician he's created the live rabbit with. I gave the rabbit clover so the rabbit had something to eat, because I was being thoughtful about the rabbit. Don't want a live rabbit just coming out of a hat and it has nothing to eat. That's just me anyway. And it's also got three 3 and 4 leaved clovers there, so there is something symbolic there too. And then it shows that the rabbit passes away and the man gets old and the baby is born and the rabbit comes back out of the hat, and it's a cycle. We've got one door there, another door there, and another door there. It depends which doorway we go through when we leave and when we enter this reality and leave into other realms. I think that's why Rebirth is just enough. We don't have to say any more about it. So that's why that one was tweaked and made clearer. I just was not happy with the faces. And of course you cannot see the faces so well because this is a rubbishy print. Right, again, another not very satisfactory print. I did very little to this one, but I did give it its title, Wild Reaper, instead of just Reaper, because of the wild and the spirit that we're putting in. But as you can see, the number 21 is not that clear to see, so that would need addressing. This whole scroll thing, I am very happy with the scrolls being integrated so that you get a small card without a border, and it's all part of the design and it fits with the design, but there's going to have to be changes with the colours and how the lettering fits and how strong the font is and all sorts of things that I can't think about right at this present moment, but those are the issues that have come up. But those are, I think, the only changes that I've really made to this, and of course you are not getting the full beautiful vibrancy of this, and I'm not saying that in a trumpet blowing way, but you know, the colours of the original do not come through in the print, and if I've had a penny for every time I'd say that, I would have £2.64 or thereabouts. Anyway, here is another one that I did, which was, it was Transformation, Awakening Spirit with the boots and the person, so that was really rejiggled, and you've seen this one rejiggled before, but you have not seen it in this form, which has had a lot more work done to it to make the thing. It was a little bit rough in places, this one, because it had lots of sort of thing. I'd worked into it too much. I hadn't got the right paper, I'd made holes in it, I'd covered it up with things, so I had to really smooth this one out and make it more well, cover some of the mistakes and make it more realistic in parts so that it fitted with the other cards, because this one was one of the ones I did earlier on. So I'm not entirely happy with the way the little moon and the little sun come through, because you can't see the 20 and you can't see the end of the word spirit, but that will need tweaking. I just did this so that that's the basis of what this card will look like. There's lots of cards here that hopefully when we put them together in the second video you could see how lovely they looked, because quite a lot of them have this wildflower, wildland theme that just all the colours together just look so stunning in the way that they didn't in the original deck so much, because I've paid much more attention to having the wild element brought to the fore and to make it as lovely as possible. I mean, that was obviously a concern in the original, but I just wanted this to just look lovely, because the Everyday Enchantment Tarot had so many constraints upon me about where things could be set to make them everyday, and this has no restraints in that way, and I can make them just look glorious, which has been a joy to do, because it means I can use all the lovely colours and all the lovely flowers and all the lovely places and everything that I enjoy doing. Ditto with the moon. Now let's look at the moon as was, Mother Two Moons. I was sad to miss that because I thought that was a lovely title, but we just couldn't have Mother Two Moon Spirit or Wild Mother Two Moons or something. Sensitive Spirit, and I thought, although she is a sensitive spirit, she's more of an illusionary spirit, because she is completely having worked over that 10-year period looking into the tarot meanings in much more depth than when I created this deck originally. I think this is much more about illusion than it is about sensitivity. Although she is deep, she has wild depths, and obviously that's a kind of relationship to the tides and the moon and all of that. So I am in the original. This is just absolutely I have to say it's gorgeous because you get all the luminosity of her hair and you get these stunning colours coming through here, and these castles, gas castles that she's probably imagining across the sea, they glow, and this is just not giving you any of that. So if you just imagine turning the colours on that up right up so that there's violets and there's coral colours and there's bright blue and gold and all sorts of things. So this is just not doing it justice, but we still have the two moon illusions, and yes, I mentioned this already. I had to change this because this scroll here, if I'd have put it there, it would have just cut off. The shells were too high up and you would have just got a lot of sand and no shells, so that had to be changed. And I just wanted to make it look more lovely, really, because this was, again, one of the ones I did early on. So, and finally, the sun did very little to this except for just changing the name from Sky Dancer to a Morning Star to Bright Spirit Wildfire, and I think that just about covers it. But this is also a very beautiful one. Now, I haven't got very long left before I am going to get cut off, so I'm just going to whiz through a few things that may be of interest, and I hope I've covered everything there now, because these were just, you know, revamps that we kind of whizzed over yesterday, especially when I was running out of time. And I'm sorry I'm only showing you the prints. It would be lovely. I made a video about the Wayback Machine and finding my old website, and it would be lovely if I had a website or somewhere where I could put these images. I will try and put them on Twitter for what it's worth, so there hopefully will be able to see the colours in their full glory. So I will do that as soon as possible. Just quickly, I wanted to give you a little bit of history of things because I haven't done this. Where did the Wild Spirit Tarot come from? Years and years ago. This was in the 90s. I started as you can see, in the very graphic style that I've been using for years. I started a series called Something Spirit. Obviously, this is Elf Spirit, done in that very graphic style that I'd been using for a long time, with all the very heavy black lines and dot shading. And these are nice, you know, they're nice, and all the extraneous bordering that I used, which came into the Wild Spirit deck, which should never have been there. But this is where it all started, these spirit drawings, Spirit of Freedom. If I had more time, we could go into these in more depth. Now, you will see elements of these actually turned up in the Wild Spirit deck, but these were done a long time previous. It just gave me the idea. You can see the Uffington White Horse border around the edge there. It gave me the idea of Spirit of, and then Wild Spirit. Spirit of the Ancestors, you can see where she came from. She changed radically. She looks very different now, doesn't she? Let's find her if we can. Oh, these gloves are an absolute foo-foo. They really are. Where are you, lovely? Come on. Yeah, that's how she ended up now, and that's how she started off with her wolf companion, Spirit of the Ancestors. So you can really see now where the whole Wild Spirit ethos came from. And I worked on quite a few of them. So Spirit of the Land, I'm not happy about some elements of this, so I'm not going to show you all of it because they're not very well drawn. But the top bit is quite nice. You can see familiar parts there, and bottom. So Spirit of the Land, Elemental Spirit, you can see that part of Elemental Spirit. You can see that this part here ended up in the Wild Spirit deck. But it's all very nicely done. It's just very graphic. I'm pleased with the artwork. I could not do this artwork now, and I can't, you know, I couldn't do the artwork I'm doing now then, so there's nothing wrong with this at all. It's just that I can't, you know, you can't reheat a souffle or something, whatever. I don't know. You can't go backwards. Once that progression has been made, it cannot be kind of recreated. Maybe some people can, but I can't. I'd love to be able to, because look at that starling. It's lovely, and the woodpecker and the robin. But I can't. And then the Spirit of the Greenwood, which is a little bit sort of faded in the background, and it'll come up. Hope you can see these all right. These are all prints, obviously, they're not originals. The originals are twice as big, so I couldn't show you them, they wouldn't fit. But these are, you know, these are nicely done. And so I was kind of preparing and moving towards the idea, and then here came the idea, the Wild Spirit. This was meant to be perhaps the box cover, which is, I think, not a good idea, but that's really where the whole thing started. And then I started to put my Wild Spirit symbols in the corner, and yes, in the very, very, very graphic dot shaded style. Look, I'm up to 20 minutes, oh dear. I wish I could show you these in more depth as well, really. There's so much to see in them. But they are very nicely done, if I say so myself. Having looked back on them now, I realise that they were good pieces in themselves, really. And then the first card that came into my mind was the Wandering Minstrel, because I just loved the idea of doing this free spirit who had yeah, well, I just loved him. He was the idea in my head, in the same way that the first card that came into my head for the Everyday Enchantment Tarot was the Fool of the builder walking off the edge of the scaffolding, holding the hod of bricks behind him like his bundle. So these were the first two that ever came to me, and he's still lovely, I think, and I would like to do him next. There's not a lot you can, yeah, I would be making him more realistic, and I'd be getting rid of the dots and everything, but yes, anyway. And here's another one, Spirit Guide, which I will be changing if he gets revamped, because I do not think this is appropriate for this card, and he will be one of the ones that don't look the same anymore, because I don't really like his posture. I think it should be a lot more open and not closed with his arms crossed, because he is guiding and not sort of protecting himself. So although that is a good one, and a lot of people found him very attractive for some reason, he was actually based on somebody I knew who's since passed away, but yes, he was quite a popular fellow, but I don't think he really fits the bill anymore. And quickly, in fact, I might just make another video, just very, very quickly, just a very short one. So while I've just got a few minutes to go back over these, because so you can see more details then. Okay, I don't really need to talk you through these, but that's our Spirit of the Ancestors, Elemental Spirit, the little owl, all the leaves, little mouse at the bottom, Spirit of the Land, which I'm not very happy about the figure, but the top bit is lovely, badger, hare, snails, frog or toad, an arachnid is my least favourite of all creatures, sorry fella, and moths. So that's that one. Spirit of the Greenwood with the deer, and Kestrel, and figure of somebody that I knew at the time, and I snuck myself into the background, then my mum was very uncomplimentary about my portrait of myself. And then the Wild Spirit design with the faces and the robin again, and the berries and the snail. It's nice to see where things came from, to see how they